Welcome back to the channel, buddy, and I hope you're doing fine, and I greet you to part 2 of our Hunger Q&A. So how does this work? Well, under the last Q&A video, there were a lot of questions, and I said I'm gonna pick the questions that have the most upvotes. So I took those, sent them to the devs, and they were so kind to answer in detail. Believe me, there was a huge file that I got from them. And then I went through that, put this into this video, and I hope we get some good answers for this one. Just keep in mind that everything that we're going to discuss today is always subject to change because, well, the game is in development, right? So please don't crucify me or the devs in 5 years because they changed something. That would be much appreciated. So how will this work today? I will read the question, then I'm going to read the answer, and then I'm going to give a little bit of my own input from my own experience from playing the playtest. Now, before we start the video though, I would like to address a topic real quick. Last time when we did a Q&A, people were like, oh, this is nothing new, and oh yeah, that topic was already discussed by another content creator. I don't care. I'm covering the topics of hunger at my pace and with my editing. Just because somebody else did it already doesn't mean I'm not doing it anymore. That would be a huge mistake. And the second thing is, people say, yeah, I just went through the slides and there was nothing new. First of all, there will be definitely something new. Second, this is also for some new viewers. So just because you know it already because you participated in playtests doesn't mean I shouldn't cover it anymore. And sometimes I just don't write it down and talk about it. All right. Thank you for your attention. Enough talking. Timestamps in the description below. Let's go. Let's start with a question from Jacob Green 9629. Question 2. It's funny that we start with question 2, but hey. What is their plan for how AI responds or is placed in the game? Will we get wandering hordes in the wilderness that react to gunshots, etc., or will they merely be stationary enemies randomly placed in low numbers that only react to when a player crosses the minimum threshold of their attack range? And we translated this question to how is AI placed and how will it behave in the game? AI are placed traditionally throughout the world but draw from a weighted spawn pool rather than fixed placements. This means that every time you enter a location, the mix of AI you encounter will vary. Sometimes there'll be more, sometimes fewer, and sometimes entirely different types. At launch, Hunger includes a variety of AI types, each designed to challenge the player in different ways and express different forms of lethality. For example, the bloat explodes on death, releasing poison gas, while the Shambler is a close-range melee threat that inflicts bleed. As development continues, we'll expand the ecosystem to include ranged, ambush, and rare roaming AI, along with elite variants that offer unique loot or crafting materials. Broadly, AI are divided into 4 escalating categories before you reach the PvE boss encounters. Lesser AI, simple, easily dispatched threats that create pressure through numbers. General AI, more reactive and diverse enemies requiring different tactics. Advanced AI, enhanced enemies that apply status effects or positional challenges. Mini-bosses and elite mini-bosses, which are rare spawns offering high-risk, high-reward encounters. PvE design in Hunger is fundamentally about forcing players to adapt through melee, range combat, stealth, or environmental use, ensuring no 2 runs feel the same. So the AI in Hunger feels good. I played against it quite a bit. The lesser AI is normally no threat, exception. There's multiple of them and somebody just shot you in the back with a Louisville. 0 out of 10 experience, cannot recommend. But the AI is a little bit more on the simpler side for now. So you have the big dudes, the brutes, and sometimes they get stuck in a doorway and something like that. And you can kind of cheese the AI. Keep in mind, it still attracts other players when you start shooting. So it works a little bit more like Hunt Showdown, I would say. The AI is beatable solo. With some experience, you can take down everything, at least outside of dungeons. And it's more to give other people a sense of, hey, there's a player, I want to dodge him, I'm going to track him down. I just recently started playing more Ark, and the Ark AI is actually a threat. So having multiple wasps and maybe a hornet on your butt while you're doing PvP is also a 0 out of 10 experience. But it still feels good, and I know that they will add a lot of AI in the future. They showed me already a few screenshots that I sadly cannot share right now. And I'm super looking forward to ambush AI or, you know, flying AI. This is something that I absolutely would like to see in Hunt, and we sadly never got that. But hey, when it comes to range AI, I hope it's something that doesn't shoot a projectile that you can dodge, like bullets. It will always be very difficult to balance. but spitting slime, sending a bee swarm like the hive in Hunt Showdown, stuff like that, I think that would be really cool. Okay, let's jump to the next question. Nope. Questions. How important will the lore be to the gameplay? Will it mostly act as side content for players who want to delve into character profiles, sort of like Hunt system, or will there be story elements baked into the gameplay? For example, events, character interactions, or items found in the world. Lore is central to the design of Hunger. It's not background flavor, it's the connective tissue between gameplay systems, characters, and the world's internal logic. Quests and the story drive progression, unlocking vendors, accessing areas of the chateau, and even determining what quests or recipes become available. Every expedition region tells its own story that rationalizes its setting, its boss, and the events leading up to or following the end. Quests and characters intertwine, and actions in one storyline can ripple into others, revealing surprising consequences later. Players can collect maps and missives, our names for written lore pieces, which award experience and build out the compendium, your in-game map and lore repository. Okay, so I'm not really a big lore guy, I have to admit that, but there is a lot in Hunger. They mentioned the missives, so this is a little bit of loot that you can find in-game that unlocks more lore in your compendium, which is nice. The chateau is probably what gives the game the biggest flavor. I actually connect to some of the NPCs, and all of them have some, well, they have their own character, right? So you have Eloise. Yep, I saw already that lots of people favor her a little bit. I wonder why. But I also like the other characters. They did a really good job with that, and I only reached, like, by regular progression, the second zone from the chateau, and there will be 2 more. It goes up to 4. So there is a lot of lore, and you can definitely feel the impact of it in the game. And a follow-up question, how will we interact with the world during traversal? Can we vault over walls, and if so, how large can the walls be? Will there be other potential climbing mechanics like interacting with grapple hooks or placeable ladders? Players can vault over walls, sprint and make use of lifts, destructible bridges and breakable walls. Now, do not expect anything like old battlefields, whole bridge collapses. When we talk here about destructible bridges and walls, it's like a wooden plank bridge that you can destroy, and the destructible walls is like there is an area on a wall that you can, you know, crush and then go through there to hiding spots, to loot spots, to shortcuts and that stuff. Vaulting, that works pretty well. You can vault actually pretty high. You can vault through windows and stuff like that. Make use of lifts. I actually didn't see that yet, so I'm looking forward to that. It feels good. Sometimes when it comes to traversal, you have a lot of cliffs in the game, and I would wish that there would be more staircases or other ways to get up the cliffs fast. There are no grappling hooks, and I don't think there will ever be grappling hooks because they don't really fit the game. Placeable ladders. Maybe you can find ladders in the world that you can place one day. I think that would be cool, but like the, you know, like Battlefield style that you just have a ladder in your pocket and you place it, that will not be the case. Then we have Sneaky Dragon with a couple of questions. Will there be a market to sell your crafted items? And if so, how are you going to prevent RMT, real money transactions? Beautiful question, because a few games like, for example, Escape from Tarkov struggle with this quite a bit. So during early access, we will be introducing an auction house, but it unlocks later in progression, ensuring players have invested significant time before accessing it. This structure helps mitigate RMT, real money trading. We also run internal systems to monitor trade behavior and flag suspicious activity. While real-life money trading can never be fully eliminated from games with player economies, Hunger's pacing, item turnover, and progression structure reduce its impact naturally. We'll continue to monitor economy post-launch to maintain a fair and transparent environment for all players. I'm gonna say a few things here, sorry to bore you, but real-life money trading becomes a big issue when you ban them and they just come back and they just can keep going, right? In Hunger, you have to invest a significant amount of time to even unlock the auction house. So I can't remember exactly, but it will not be Chateau Zone 1 or 2. I think you have to go up to 3 and 4. But again, this is all topic to change. So you cannot just create a new account as a cheater and then start selling stuff again. You have to level up the character, and I don't know how much you can, you know, fasten that up by cheating, but that will be flagged probably very quickly when somebody reaches max level in 2 hours or something like that. So you can, of course, never fully eliminate that, but there's a huge obstacle for people cheating and doing real-life money trading in this game. So a good example also for bad real-life money trading was the cycle, or for cheating in general, I would say, because there was, again, no obstacle stopping them from just creating a new account because the cycle was free to play. And I rarely call a game cheater-infested, and I think very often people just exaggerate, but the cycle Season 1 was bad. And this saddens me because I enjoyed and played the cycle quite a bit, so rip to that one. But having a price tag on the game already helps because you can't just, you know, buy a new account or make a new account. But the crucial thing is to have this blocker that the cycle was missing. I think they did it with the last map that they introduced, that you can only enter that at a certain level or by doing a quest line before that. You need something that costs cheaters quite a lot of time. So once you ban them, they're just not back after, I don't know, 10 minutes. Okay, sweet. Let's go to the follow-up question though. Can you please elaborate on the anti-thirst mechanic? Is it going to be similar to Hunt? We use a down but not out system. When a player is down, their health and healing capacity increase significantly, making it harder for enemies to instantly finish them off. AI are also programmed to prioritize non-down players, giving teammates a fair window to attempt rescues or revives. Beyond the base system, there are masteries that allow you to expand and customize your down state, increasing crawl speed, extending your health pool, or even allowing solo players to self-revive. We've deliberately started from a generous baseline to counter thirsting behavior and make fights feel fair with room for mastery-driven death. All that said, if a player isn't careful and gets downed multiple times in a single expedition, they will be punished for this. Each time they are downed, their downed health pool is reduced, meaning that they will need to be revived faster. When the player is first downed in a match, they have the default downed hit points, that is 200 with no upgrades. This reduces on subsequent times getting downed in the same match. Second down is 150 health, third down is 100 health, fourth time being downed is 50 health, and the fifth down and all downs thereafter 10 health. Therefore, if someone is on their fifth down, it will take them 10 seconds to bleed out. So you lose 1 health per second. Of course, everything here is subject to future broader testing and feedback. Let me just explain really quick, because this is something that I actually see every now and then in my Twitch chat when people ask, hey, what is an anti-thirsting mechanic? What is thirsting? So you get downed like in ARK or in PUBG, and people keep shooting at you to completely take you out of the game. So that is something that is a little bit meh, because of course, if I just keep blasting with my Torrente, for example, in Arc Raiders while you're downed, you will just die rather quickly. So anti-thirsting means it's making it more difficult for your killer to actually finish you off completely. And then the last one here, is there an anti-extraction camping mechanic? When a player approaches a dirigible, our extraction vessel, it emits a red smoke signal that can be seen from a distance. However, it doesn't reveal who is extracting. It could be you, an ally, or an enemy, so long as somebody is in the radius of the extraction point. We choose a visual indicator instead of an audio cue because many extractions occur within the map itself, rather than just the edges, or atop large structures, and constant sound could interfere with gameplay. This is something that I really like. So I joined the latest playtest, and there was no anti-extraction camping mechanic, and people just sit in bushes, wait until you show up, and then they blast you. Very similar to ARK, by the way. So having anything that warns you that you're not alone at the extraction is great. I mean, Hunt Showdown is doing a good job at that. For example, the boat engines are roaring, or the horses make noise, so you know you're not alone. I would like to see this actually in Arc Raiders, and I'm surprised that a game like Ark that is focused on a little bit more casual side does not have something like this. I think every extraction shooter should have an anti-camping mechanic. I don't know how many times I went to Interchange and got killed at the extractions, especially on the old Interchange that was just freaking horrible. But okay, maybe it was just poor map design. And I also like it that they have the red smoke and not something that makes noise. Because they're right, these extraction vessels, they spawn sometimes in the middle of the map and it might be weird. So people crossing that will happen quite frequently. Okay, but we have it and I'm happy with that for now. Then we have Weightmaster. Hello Psychoghost Gaming. This question builds off question 23. It's said that characters are unlocked through leveling and prestiging. I imagine others might be wondering too, but will prestiging also unlock specific recipes, upgrades, or class-specific features? Thank you for the video and hope this makes the question list. Ha! First of all, you're welcome. And second, yes, you're lucky it did. So, prestiging unlocks exclusive cosmetics tied to that specific character and grants a Psych Seed, the currency used to unlock new characters. It also allows you to assign the passive, tactical or ultimate ability of that prestiged character to any new character at will, effectively building out an ability pool to greatly broaden your build capabilities. There are additional prestige rewards still to come, and some that we'll explain in detail at a later date. I think I showed in one of my previous videos some legendary skins for prestiging, so that will absolutely be a thing. I think you get a Psych Seed though by hitting level 10 and other level thresholds, so you don't need to prestige one character to actually unlock a different character, so that will not be a thing. Prestiging in this game will be attractive because you can go a little bit more in-depth with builds, because you can mix then tacticals and ultimates from other characters. Together with the mastery builds and the mastery trees, you will probably have quite a few options to make a build that fits your playstyle. And then the next question from Red. I'm pretty sure he is happy to see this video because he was totally not asking me basically daily when the video will be released. But hey, you're welcome. Question: if you need the best gear in the game to be able to do dungeon boss, what impact will dungeon gear have in PvP? Fantastic question. Dungeon gear primarily consists of extremely rare legendary cosmetics that can only be earned through completing specific bosses or dungeons. Alongside these, you'll find high-tier weapons and armor among the strongest in the game. However, hunger is balanced with these items in mind. They offer a meaningful but not overwhelming advantage. You'll want to use legendary gear, but success still depends on skill and circumstance. Beyond weapons and armor, dungeons are also key progression gateways. They contain ways to unlock new questlines, vendors, crafting recipes, rare materials, and other secrets that expand your access to the game systems. Dungeon rewards are as much about breadth of opportunity as they are about power. So, I mean, there is no denying, let's be honest here for a second, that good gear will give you an advantage in PvP. The question is, how big is the difference? And I think Hunt Showdown, after, we blend out all the whining and complaining about it, has a very good gun balance actually. You can play a Ranger, which is a compact ammo rifle, and you have a good chance at defeating a Mosin. However, I think it's kind of obvious that long ammo still has an advantage. In Arc, it's kind of similar. You have a Pharaoh, for example, which is a bolt action rifle in the game, and once you upgrade that to level 4, you can actually compete with people when you know what you're doing. So that's great, and that is a great weapon that's like absolutely trash tier, basically, but it doesn't behave trash tier. And I think it will be kind of similar in this game, since the rarity system will just tell you how rare something it will be, and not how powerful it will be. I found a legendary Zweihänder in a dungeon, and honestly, the blue rapier performed better in PvP. But slicing somebody, well, not really, but it feels like you're doing that. Slicing them in half with a broad two-hand swing is... Ah, yes, chef's kiss. This gives me goosebumps, still thinking about that. But yeah, I think this is something that they will have to monitor. The armor, we discussed it already in the missive a few days ago. It's not like it negates an insane amount of damage. It just bumps up your HP pool a little bit, and that's it. So it's not like, oh yeah, you hit with a gray weapon on purple armor, your gray weapon doesn't do anything anymore. So I think the balancing from what I saw was okay, but it's too early to tell, and this is something, those are numbers. Numbers can always be tuned. Let's go to the next one. Then we have Simon Vigebro. Question: they said solo will be extremely viable, and that sounds awesome. I wonder how they will do that. Will it be similar to Hunt with special skills for solos only? And if so, will duo and trio teams get any exclusive skills too? Much love for Sweden. I love how he says much love for Sweden, not from Sweden. I just hope that was the phone autocorrect. But okay, much love for Sweden, I guess. Now, let me just explain to you real quick before we go through the answer. In Hunt Showdown, in case you didn't play that, you gain experience with your character, and then the character can buy traits, and some of them, while you were being solo, had extra benefits. For example, there was Necromancer, where you could revive a teammate at range, and as a solo, you could self-revive. Okay, let's go to the answer. Ensuring solo play is fully viable has been one of our core goals. From testing, solo play often proves to be one of the fastest paths to progression, particularly for questing and profession development due to the experience bonuses awarded to solos. While solo players will use their guns sparingly, steer clear of enemy gunshots and keep moving, group play by contrast excels in PvP and high-risk objectives. At the end of an expedition, the total experience the player gains scales based on their party size. Trios earn 100%, duos earn 150%, solos earn 300%. The design intent here is to reward smaller parties for taking on more risk. Players naturally switch between modes, playing solo for focused objectives like gathering or crafting, and grouping up for PvP or boss encounters. Each scale, solo, duo, trio, fulfills a slightly different gameplay niche. Solo-focused masteries, consumables, and tool enhance stealth, evasion, and survivability, letting players fine-tune builds for independence. Because hunger doesn't revolve around a single PvP win condition, solo play becomes a legitimate and rewarding lifestyle. Much like Sea of Thieves, where players define their own playstyles. Now, I'm gonna say one thing here. I leveled ridiculously fast as a solo, probably because I know already what I'm doing in the game, more or less, right? At one point though, this XP gain feature will not do much for you anymore. Like once the game is out for a couple months or years, you can neglect this and it's meaningless. So they will probably do this with matchmaking, and we're also gonna discuss the matchmaking in today's video. So I don't wanna go, we will discuss this in a little bit, and that will actually be more important than what we see here. I like it that they talk about solo, self-revive and stuff like that. This is something that I miss in Arc Raiders. It should not be easy, so if somebody downs you and is right next to you, there should be no way for you to just simply stand up again. Sometimes you just get unlucky with a poison cloud from a bloat in hunger, or that one hornet somehow still shot you around the corner in Arc Raiders and downs you, and then you're just crawling around and there's nothing for you to do anymore. If you don't have, the one augmentation that lets you always heal to 75%, but that takes forever. I don't count that one. So yeah, let's just put this to the side and discuss this once more once we go to the matchmaking. Next question. Jesus Christ, wall of text, Kinesis. Love the new content, I'm very excited for this game. Couple questions regarding the firearms. I understand there's some gameplay-oriented changes for these to increase the fun, but can they elaborate a little more? I think some of these would add the depth of the game, such as large clouds of smoke, obstruct your vision, give away your position, pure accuracy beyond 25 yards for pistols, 75 yards for muskets, etc. I respect the decision to prioritize fun over historical accuracy, mostly just curious. 1. Virtually all firearms shown are smoothbore. Can we expect poor accuracy overall with these as a balancing mechanic against melee weapons? Rifles were very expensive, but did exist. Will this be the highest tier firearms? And then follow up. All firearms shown are using black powder. Will the smoke effect be increased to accurately represent that? Or is it an artistic choice to have them be quick proofs as seen in trailers? So here's the answer. We're striking a balance between historical authenticity, lethality, and fun. Early tests with true-to-history muskets proved far too punishing, so we rebalanced them to deliver massive impact to offset long reloads and poor sights. Each weapon has a defined role. It's common for melee builds to open fights with a musket shot before switching to close combat. Just a quick note here, this is something that you will do probably a lot when you are restricted from the endgame stuff. You take a Louisville rifle, you shoot that one, you tag them, deplete their shield because the Louisville hits like a truck, and then you go for the melee charge. At least that's how it was for me a lot of times in the last playtest. Weapons are balanced across many variables: ammunition type and scarcity, rate of fire and reload time, recoil and muzzle velocity, sight clarity, projectile drop and lead distance, penetration and material interaction, damage and status effects. Each gun demands mastery of its timing, rhythm and trajectory, keeping combat skill-based and satisfying. A lot of people will struggle with the colors of the weapons. Oh, this is a gray rifle. Oh, this is a green rifle. Oh, this one is purple and stuff like that, And honestly, there will be some guns that feel a little bit bonkers. And high rate of fire very often means you have less damage per bullet, obviously. And with the semi-auto weapons, shooting somebody is it feels like they don't die sometimes. So let's see how that works. And then you have weapons like the Louisville, and if you played any Hunt Showdown, that feels like a Sparks. And I think we can all agree that nobody would say, oh, the Sparks is a bad weapon. You cannot play the Louisville as a suppressive weapon to shoot while you approach, which you can do that with other weapons, but they will not be useless. And I also think that we need a good balance over a realistic setting. This is something when people come over to me and they say, this doesn't look realistic. You always put gameplay balance over realism, because realism in video games, believe me, would not be fun. If I shoot you in the chest, you're not running around anymore. At least, not for long. Then we have David Karapetchan. Probably butchered the pronunciation, I'm sorry about that. Question 1, is there a plan to expand gathering professions fishing in the game? And then follow-up question, are there plans or thoughts on pets/mounts during or after launch? Let's talk about the professions first. Yes, Hunger will expand its profession roster post-release. We're launching with 9 professions. Every profession has a defined place and purpose within the world's economy. Fishing is something we're open to, though it may exist as a mini-game or supplemental system rather than a full profession. It will only be added when it meaningfully contributes to the broader economy and gameplay loop. I would like to see fishing add just a simple mini-game, and then you can use that one for cooking to get buff food. I think that would be nice, full of flavor, add a lot of life to the game as well. Then, currently there are no plans for mounts. Our maps are roughly 1 square kilometer, making traversal deliberate and personal. Mounts would undermine that pacing. However, pets are something we're open to exploring. Yeah, mounts would just not work for this game, because how do you balance that then with melee? Can you not attack while you're on a horse? It would also feel weird, but then a horse would make you absolutely ridiculously OP. Nah. Pets though? I would like pets in a chateau, not during the map. Please no, if somebody shoots my dog, I would be very upset. Okay? You can pet my dog in the chateau, that's okay. But don't shoot my dog in an expedition. We will get John Wick scenarios otherwise pretty fast. And then we have Unbroken. My question is, how will they balance having no wipes? Won't that force everyone to run the best gear or put everyone else at a disadvantage? Wipes are always a difficult topic, so let's go into this. There are no developer-enforced global wipes. Hunger encourages player-driven resets. Players can wipe themselves voluntarily to pursue new content, unlock rare cosmetics, access new regions, or create new characters. This is done through prestiging. Like, this is crazy. I mean, we talked about the abilities, but access new regions? Like boss fight areas? Or how will it work? I mean, this will be some true motivation to actually prestige. So let's see how that will look like. Then, when prestiging, you lose your mastery tree progress on a character that you have prestiged and need to build it up again. We believe players will do this because of the satisfaction of unlocking unique prestige cosmetics, as well as the opportunity to take one character's unique abilities and apply them to a new character, a key motive in prestiging a character. Worth noting though that prestiging does not reset a player's gear. This gear is hard fought for and it wouldn't be fair to wipe it. However, to ensure that the best gear is under threat and doesn't collect at the top end of the player base, our endgame is a mixture of challenging PvE, PvP and mixed content designed to provide huge rewards in the forms of recipes, cosmetics and more. These are incredibly difficult and rewarding experiences which players will have to take their best gear into to have a chance of survival at the risk of losing it all. Aside from this, to make it so newer players with more basic gear aren't instantly annihilated by high-level players with legendary gear, we will have some experience-based matchmaking at launch, and we will continue to refine this with testing throughout our early access period. This means that you will be on servers with other players likely to be at a similar level and using a similar loader to you, although it's not guaranteed. We have worked hard to construct a game where every expedition is a tense experience, survival should never be taken for granted, and the fear of death from a powerful enemy should always be a factor in your decision making. This topic will probably be a never-ending story. So people are forced to take the best gear to slay bosses. That either makes bosses incredibly hard, which also means that some people will never be able to kill the bosses even with the best gear because skill levels are just different. That's just how it is. So this will be some interesting balancing. But I played some epic weapons, like a halberd for example, or I think there's also an epic saber. I played some legendary weapons, like a Zweihänder, and at least when it came to melee combat, I was like, yeah, those weapons are cool, but yeah, the color on that weapon is just because it's rare, not because it's OP. Like the rapier, for example, was an absolute monster in PvP, and that was just blue. I think they just have to play around with this, and we need to play it too, and then maybe adjust this during early access if need be. And then we have Skuduflis88. Question. Everybody knows cheating is a big problem in any competitive game, in some more and some less, and it can ruin the experience. My question is, which anti-cheat will they use, and how are they going to handle cheating in-game? Like punishments, bans, time bans, etc. Before I go to the answer page here, they will not share everything, how everything works, because that also helps cheaters, right? If you are super transparent how your anti-cheating or banning process works, people will find ways to work around that. Okay, this is from the devs. Hunger uses a two-pronged approach, a dedicated anti-cheat system that targets traditional FPS cheats like aimbots, movement exploits, and health manipulation. long-term behavioral monitoring, allowing us to detect unusual patterns in gear acquisition, economy interaction, and performance that indicate tampering. We feel this combination will allow us to combat immediate and long-term cheating behavior. Our team will continually evolve these systems post-release to stay ahead of emerging threats. I think, in theory, it's super easy to monitor this. If somebody has like insane amounts moving through the auction house, this should absolutely be a red flag everywhere. Yeah, I played Escape from Tarkov, thank you very much. I'm aware how their auction house works. So I'm happy with the answer. Yes, sure, they're not telling you which anti-cheat they use, but we will see that probably in one of the future playtests. And there's also one thing that I would like to mention. People always complain that there are a lot of cheaters, and although they just get outplayed. I'm not saying there are no cheaters online. There are plenty of them, right? Every online FPS game has them. That's just how it is, sadly. We just have to do the best to mitigate their impact on our gameplay. Next up, Jacob Green. Question: how will the attachment and weapon rarity bullet type system work? Example, are attachments lootable that can be attached at a weapon crafting station, or will they simply be rarity types with weapons built onto them? Now, there are no traditional attachments in Hunger. Instead, weapons are crafted as distinct variants, each with unique handling and stats. Weapon rarity represents how uncommon or resource-intensive a weapon is to obtain, not its damage or power tier. Common weapons remain viable, rare weapons are simply harder to find or craft. At launch, there are 30+ weapons spanning two-handed and one-handed melee weapons, pistols and rifles. Each has unique characteristics: ammunition type, muzzle velocity, recoil, rate of fire, and penetration, all further influenced by masteries, food, drink, and trinkets post-early access. So yeah, the rarity system apparently, well, it's just how rare something is and not how good something is, and I talked about that already a couple times. Let's see, because for the rifles, yeah, the higher tier ones, they feel a lot better than the base ones, with the exception of the Louisville. I like this. I think sometimes you can keep stuff simple. I mean, they can always add this later if need be, but believe me, when you start playing Hunger with the mastery trees, with the crafting, with the questing and everything, the game has already quite the complexity when it releases into early access. So maybe having right now no attachment system and just having the variants might be a good thing. Then we have Lizardman. Thank you, Mike. Also the devs, you're welcome. My question was about something you brought up. If we have crafting that scales and progresses with our character/account, will there be trading, currency, etc.? Also, will gear be shared across a player's account in a stash, or does each character have an individual progression and stash? Now, each character has individual progression. Profession, mastery, experience, and unlocks are tied to that character. Later, players unlock an area of the chateau that allows item storage and transfer between characters with access. So, this is very important. You kind of need both characters to have access. You need one character to be in the zone, but for the other one to access it too, he needs also to be high level, right? I didn't see it in level 2, so I would assume this is level 3 or maybe even 4. Players often specialize their characters around profession synergy, for example scavenging and metallurgy for weaponsmithing, or naturalist and physician for medicine production, forming a natural in-world economy that will later connect to guilds and collaborative systems post-release. I like this. It also means that when you play a new character, people cannot just dump all the best in slot gear on the character because the fresh character does not have access to the vault, because both characters need access. So, really happy to see this. I would like to know a little bit more about guilds though in the future. Am I the only one? Probably not. Then we have Joka Cola. Question: will certain masteries unlock different melee techniques? For example, you can learn to do large zoning swings with a Zweihander or other realistic sword things. Yes, masteries modify how you use weapons, affecting melee, ranged, and general combat styles. They change movement, attack efficiency, or energy usage to create distinct combat builds. A player specialized in melee, for example, can greatly increase mobility, energy efficiency, or combat endurance through tailored mastery builds. Now, keep in mind, when we talk about energy, energy is the resource for your melee attack, and stamina is the resource for sprinting. Important. Post-release, we'll expand this further with a dedicated weapon mastery system to reward the usage of a specific weapon. Okay, so what we're playing right now, I mean, those who have access to it, we have a little bit of a simplified approach here. Getting weapon mastery to progress it too, and then to unlock something there will be nice. Right now you have the mastery trees where you can learn, I think, dual wielding, I saw that in there. There's also equipping shields. Ooh, I wonder how good they will work. Very interesting. But let's see. there are movement sets bound to the weapons. I didn't see anything to learn new attack patterns. You can buff some, like for example the forward thrust, but that's probably what they mean with having then a specific weapon mastery by just using the weapon a lot. Let's see. And then we have Elite Wolf. Question, will solo players actually be able to complete dungeons? Is there anything that prevents them from getting overrun by bigger groups? Yes, solo players can absolutely complete dungeons, though they demand patience and situational awareness. Dungeons feature multiple entrances and exits to give solos tactical options for navigation and escape. There are multiple ways into each dungeon, using keys, secret entrances, and even one-way systems. As with all expedition maps, timing and positioning are crucial. We'll also introduce solo-tuned PvE experiences, post-release, designed specifically for individual players who want to test themselves without the support of a group. And this is something not just for solo play, that is an absolute must-have. Multiple entries, multiple exits. At least 3 or even more. Otherwise, people will just camp the entry points of the dungeons and camp the exit points of the dungeons, which will be insanely annoying. You will probably go through a few resources clearing the dungeon, and then you have fully geared and fresh people waiting at the exit for you, which would be absolute horrible experience. Also keep in mind that they're talking about dungeons and not bosses. So maybe the guy asking the question was also asking, can you solo the bosses? We will see about that. I already soloed a few dungeons. You also will have traps later in the game. They're not in the game right now, at least in the build that I play. And you can then place them behind you as some trigger warnings that people will come your way. So there we go. That's it with the Q&A from your questions from the last video. But honestly, so many people came into my Twitch chat or just messaged me in my Discord. I added a few questions just for you. Okay, so question number 18. How will the matchmaking look like? Because that was a hot topic. And this game will prioritize solos and team queues. Like an arc. Okay, tuning will happen if needed, too early to tell, obviously. So you as a solo should go up only against a solo, and trios or teams just against teams. If there will be a duo queue, I don't know. Keep in mind there's teams of, well, solo, duo, and trio. And as always, you need player numbers. Arc Raiders right now has a ridiculous amount of players, so congrats to that. So they implemented a duo queue. That's probably the wrong term that I'm using here. They prioritize solo queue, duo queue, and trio queue. There's a chance you can still go up against teams. I like this. Now just keep in mind that we will have 2 buckets, right? We have 1 bucket with newer players under a certain threshold of a level. I don't know which one that will be. And then we have the other buckets with, well, people who have a little bit more experience in the game. So we have these 2 buckets, and then in these buckets, solo and team queues. I think this will be good when always, you know, whenever people ask me, what's the ideal matchmaking and should we have matchmaking? Yes, I think we should have matchmaking. I sound like a broken record. I don't care. Bobby, who has 2 or 3 jobs and needs to take care of his kids after the job on top, and then he gets like 2 hours max a week to play. He should not go up against Kevin, who no-lives the game for 15 hours a day and is high on Adderall. Should just not be. That's not fair. But you need a huge player base to do this. So in Arc Raiders, nobody bats an eye. So maybe this is the way to go. Maybe it is. Just have these solo buckets and let Fortuna favor the bold or something like that. Not sure. But yeah, I like this. I'm super happy that there will be a solo queue. That's all I need. Let's go to the next question though. Question 19. When will be the next playtest? My god. Okay. So, the 25th of November will be the next playtest. Yes, I will participate in that, and I hope I can record there too. I'm not allowed to stream it though, because NDA. Joining the Discord is probably your best bet to enter these playtests. Joining the Discord will not guarantee you to join the playtest from the 25th of November. Because that one might actually be just some technical testing. I'm not 100% sure yet. But for the future playtests, and they announced already that there will be more playtests, they will open up more waves to players. So your best bet to join future playtests is joining Discord and hoping you're getting the role. And that's it. Okay. And then I have one more question. We have this one here. Question 20. What about console? Console will come after early access for PC. I mean, sure, it depends a little bit on the overall success of the game, but I hope it will do good. And when it comes to matchmaking, it will be console crossplay, like for example, Xbox against PlayStation, but PC will stay in their own bubble. Okay, all right. Then as always, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I like what we appreciate. That was a lot of work to make this video, and a big shout out to the devs to give me such detailed answers. So I hope that could clarify a lot of your questions. And with that, let's roll the outro. And then as always, I have to give a shout out to my patrons. You guys are absolutely mind-blowing as always. Thank you so much for being so supportive. I really appreciate that. And then there's a link tree in the description where you can also get a link to the Discord from the devs in a separate link though, not in my link tree, right? So all my social media and everything is over there. And maybe you find something here that you want to click on, that would be much appreciated. We're gonna do a lot of Arc Raiders right now, Hunt Showdown obviously, and Hunger. Well, once there's something new. And for 2026, I will probably deep dive into Hunger. Nice. I see you in the next one. Until then, have a good day and bye-bye.